Here's everything you need to know to make money on spring football. Hey guys, it's Jake Tribby from FantasyPoints, and I'm here to talk about the newest iteration of spring football, the UFL, and more importantly, how we can make some money on this new league. First, I wanted to talk about what is DFS. DFS is daily fantasy sports, a weekly game where each player has a salary, and there's a salary cap, so we can't only play the best players. That forces us to dig a bit deeper into the player pool than we might in a normal fantasy league, but it also enables massive tournaments where we can make huge money. Even just for week 2 of this new spring league, the UFL, there are multiple 5-figure first place prizes at stake. What is the UFL? The UFL is the United Football League, or the combined version of the USFL and XFL. Combining the two spring leagues heavily condensed the talent pool, which has made the on field product the best we've ever seen, which makes it even more fun to gamble on than previous iterations of spring football. How is UFL DFS different from NFL DFS? A lot of our audience may be familiar with playing NFL DFS, but UFL DFS or spring football DFS might be a little new to some of you. The first big difference is the roster requirements. NFL DFS requires you to play 2 running backs. In the UFL, that jumps down to 1 because there's only 8 teams and there aren't as many bell cows. We also don't have a tight end position to worry about with UFL Daily Fantasy, and that's because the tight end position is fairly thin. I mean, just thinking about the NFL, how many fantasy relevant tight ends are there overall? Not that many. And when you condense down to an 8-team spring league, there's going to be even fewer that you will want to roster. We also only are required to play 2 receivers, and we also get 2 additional flexes. So you can play up to 3 running backs or up to 4 receivers, and you're only rostering 7 players overall, including a defense, compared to 9 in NFL DFS. The scoring is essentially the same as NFL DFS, but there are no extra point kicks. After a touchdown, teams are able to try a 1-point try from the 2-yard line, a 2-point try from the 5-yard line, or a 3-point try from the 10-yard line. And those count as fantasy points for their respective players. So if a receiver catches a 3-point try from the 10-yard line, that counts as 3 fantasy points. And it would also count for 3 fantasy points for the quarterback who threw the pass. In a sport like UFL DFS, information and advanced data is significantly harder to come by than the NFL, which means that the edge for people who do have that data or that information, like us here at Fantasy Points, is a massive gambling edge. And for those unaware, Fantasy Points has a UFL DFS product this season. Here's what you get: player projections, main slate ownership projections, an exclusive UFL DFS Discord channel where you can directly ask me and the other Fantasy Points experts questions about the slate, and access to my UFL articles, which will be behind the paywall every other week. If that interests you, you can use promo code UFL 2024. Again, that's UFL 2024 for a 10% discount on our UFL product. If you're looking for a quick overview of every team in the league, look no further. The St. Louis Battlehawks are the number 1 team in my power rankings, led by quarterback A.J. McCarron and an incredibly strong receiving room. This is clearly the best offense in the UFL. The San Antonio Brahmas are led by genius offensive coordinator A.J. Smith, who I actually interviewed in an article that you can find at FantasyPoints.com. And this is one of the most creative offenses in not just the UFL, but in all of professional football. The DC Defenders are led by quarterback Jordan Teamu. This is a pretty fun run-first offense that runs a lot of option, a lot of RPOs, with an extremely aggressive defense led by defensive coordinator Greg Williams. The Arlington Renegades are led by quarterback Luis Perez and former Oklahoma coach Bob Stoops. This team is defending a 2023 XFL championship. The Birmingham Stallions are the favorite to win the USFL conference, and they're the winningest team in spring football history, back-to-back USFL champions, and you won't find a team with better coaching than Birmingham. The Houston Roughnecks are the Houston Roughnecks in name and uniform only. This is actually the continuation of the 2023 Houston Gamblers from the USFL. Unfortunately, at this point, they look like clearly the worst team in the new league. The Memphis Showboats are led by quarterback Case Cookus. This team runs the fastest paced offense in the league and has a ton of fun receiving talent. The Michigan Panthers are an air raid team with great running backs and an elite defensive line. The Panthers are one of the biggest sleepers in the league, and they have a kicker who can drill 65-yard field goals, including one to beat the St. Louis Battlehawks in week 1. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have a question or enjoyed the video, and be sure to visit fantasypoints.com to check out all of our UFL content and our UFL projections.